that. Is that where they fucking just lock you up? Okay, because what I was watching the other day was these dopamine detox shit, and this guy was talking about the easy dopamine detox, where you like cut out addictive stuff, like devices and games and music, and yes, even music, because it can give you a dopamine hit. And then the second stage is like you go like you don't even interact with other people, and you basically can only journal, exercise, and sit around in your room. That's about it. And then the last stage of the detox was you can't do fucking anything. You basically have to sit in a room for 24 hours and not do anything. You basically have to just meditate. So like, was your thing like forced like that?
Are you recording now?
Yeah, I've been recording.
Okay, perfect. I was going to say, because you might want to start recording. So out of those three things you just said, I think it's more in between the second and the third, because you just want me to like start from the beginning, I guess.
Yeah, just tell me fucking everything.
So it was a 5-day meditation retreat, a silent meditation retreat, which all I knew beforehand was that you weren't able to talk. You're supposed to just be quiet the whole fucking time. So signed up, went to it, signed up for it, told mom and dad what I was doing. They thought I was joining a cult of some sorts. So they were...
Was I at school when this happened? Because like I don't remember any of this or like hearing about it or anything.
It was like... It was like 2011 or 2012.
Yeah, so I would have been at school.
Around then.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd read this guy's books, Adi Ashanti, and I was just like doing more research on him, like trying to find more books, I think. And then I saw that he did meditation retreats, so I became interested, saw what it was, decided I wanted to go try it, signed up, did the whole deal, told mom and dad, and they thought I was joining a cult. And I told them, like, well, I'm not going to drink any Kool-Aid or do anything fucking crazy. I just want to see what this is about.
Mm-hmm.
So it was somewhere up north. Jesus, someone was crawling on my leg. How do you stand?
Brown Widows.
Could be. So someplace up north. What the fuck was it called? Can't remember. There's some really cool beach community though, and they rented out like this whole area where they do like business getaways and people can go and vacation there and things like that. And one thing that was trippy was, since I didn't have enough money to like pay for my own room, I had to bunk with someone, and since I didn't know anyone there, they just assigned me like a random person.
Yeah.
So just me like not knowing anything about this, I was like, Jesus, I hope I don't get paired up with some strange person that, you know, is gonna do God knows what. So I got there early, put my shit in my room, and you had to meet in the evening, which was like the first meeting of the whole thing after you signed in and everything. So we're meeting everyone's talking, blah blah blah. We go to the deal, and the dude Adi Shanti's there, and welcome, blah blah blah.
Wait, the guy who actually wrote the fucking books was there?
Yeah, the guy that wrote the books is
like
there.
He didn't subsidize this shit to someone else like
No,
Tony Robbins does? Like he actually was there?
He's putting on the whole thing. So he comes out, he says hi to everyone, and he's like, okay, so like thank you all for coming, like this is great that everyone's like-minded and we want to do this together, blah blah. Some of you are familiar with this, you've done it before, some of you aren't familiar with it. He's like, I'm just going to tell you what it's all about. So he said that like the idea of it is for the 5 days you turn off your phones, you have like any electronic equipment, whatever, like throw it in your trunk. Basically like the outside world needs to be cut off and you just need to focus on the moment right now.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, so because I can't tell you to hide your phone and hide all this other stuff. He's like, but if you want to get the full experience, this is what you need to do. So like it was just cut yourself off from whatever is in the world out there that you left to come to this. So basically I just took my phone, turned it off, threw it in the car. That's all I had, really. I didn't have anything else that could have linked me back to the outside world. So he said, all right, here's a piece of paper. This has got the schedule for breakfast, lunch, dinner, because it's all provided for you. And these are the times that you come and we have discussion, basically where he talks. And then there's a time at the end of the day where the only time you're allowed to speak is to ask questions to him to like clarify something, I guess, along your silent meditation.
That's always the thing, right? It's like really simple, but sometimes it's too simple that you have to ask questions and being like...
Right, so I hadn't met the guy that was staying in the same room as me yet. So we did that whole like meet and greet thing, and then you get this necklace that has a sign on that says, I'm silently observing, please don't talk to me.
Nice.
Because there's other people there that are like doing other things, so like there's the chance that they could come up to you and be like, hey, what do you know about this or that or the other?
Is this place all owned by this dude, or is it like a place he was renting out?
It's just a place that gets rented out for the 5 days. So there's normal people are doing their normal things.
Mm-hmm.
It just happens to be that there's this meditation retreat going on there.
Dude, I want a sign like that and just walk around everywhere.
I know, it was actually really nice, but so you wear that so no one comes up and talks to you, and like you don't have the temptation to start talking to them.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, once like I saw that and I was like, oh shit, this is what that's about, I like personally decided, I'm like, I want to take this really seriously. I paid this money to get here, and I'm putting forth the effort. Like I want to make it as legit as possible. So go back to my room, and the dude's there before me, and it was like just this like weird awkward thing where I'm like wave to him, and he like waves to me. And I'm like, cool, like alright. So like and our beds are like right next to each other, and we share like a bathroom and stuff.
Oh, good.
And so I was like, alright, whatever. And like, so I set out my shit, and I don't know, it's like late evening, so like there's not really much else to do. So like I kind of just walked around the area, saw where everything was, and just cruised around. It's right on the beach. Went down to the beach, came back, just went to sleep. And then the next morning you go to breakfast, and then immediately after breakfast you go to like one of the first, I don't know what was the proper word, but like meeting, I guess, where the dude Adyashanti talks to you, and he just brings up like something to think about for the day. It's like, contemplate this.
Like one word shit, or did he gives you like a spiel?
It's like something like, it's not like a whole spiel, but it's like simple. It's not something that's like convoluted and crazy and all this. Like
to give you like a koan?
Not quite. I think it was more of something like along the lines of like, think about why you're here. What did you want to achieve by coming to this? And then he says, like you can journal if you want. He goes, but you can't talk to anyone, and you can't communicate. He goes, but you can journal. That's pretty much the only thing you can do. But don't communicate with other people. And they just say, okay, see you in 4 hours after lunch, and that's it. So, my thing before going was like, I think when people get into a spirituality or a religion, it's like they're trying to like chase something. They're like trying to find out. So like maybe it was for me like finding enlightenment or finding peace or what have you.
Like everyone's trying to find an answer, kind of.
Yeah, like as like a newcomer to any religion or faith or anything, like you're searching for something. You know? Like no one. I think that's what most people are looking for when they join a spirituality or a faith, or looking inside themselves. So that was kind of my thing. I was like, well, I want to achieve enlightenment. I want to achieve peace. I want to be at peace with myself. That's why I wanted to go. So like, you just literally fucking walk around. You could go back to your room. You could sit in your room. You could walk along the beach. You could go sit under a tree next to the beach. Like, they didn't.
Wait, where was this?
It was somewhere up north. I can't remember. I think it's called Solano Beach.
I always thought it was like in the mountains. I always thought you were like somewhere high in the mountains or some shit.
That'd be cool.
I didn't realize there was like a beach and stuff
There's
nearby.
one in Oregon, I think, that's in the mountains, but this one's on the beach.
Okay.
Like, you can literally see the beach from your room. But so I was like, okay, well, so just started walking around, and like, then I was like, all right, well, I guess I'll just sit here and try and meditate or whatever. And I don't know if you're like familiar with like walking meditation, but like I was trying a lot of walking meditation. I was trying just like, dude, I just literally like stood in the water and just stared at the ocean and the horizon as like the waves came in and out, just like kind of thinking or just letting thoughts come to me, you know. And then whatever, your time's up, it's lunchtime. After lunchtime, you go to another meeting, and he gives you another point to think about.
Oh, what do you eat for lunch? Is it like very basic, or like something that like is supposed to help with this experience too?
No, it's just normal shit. Like,
oh, okay.
If you had like vegetarian or vegan restrictions, you just noted it when you signed up.
Oh, okay.
Otherwise, it's just like a very basic cafeteria, provides you food.
Oh, okay.
It's really good stuff, actually, but
I wasn't sure they were gonna feed you like fucking gruel, like you're fucking ascetic monk or some shit.
No, it was just like normal cafeteria food that like the facility provided for everyone, you know?
Right.
Because then you had other people that were there for other reasons coming in as well.
Yeah.
At lunch and dinner time. So, you go lunch, you go see him after, blah, blah, blah. Then it'd be the same thing. But like after lunch to dinner, it was a much longer span. It was like 6 hours.
Oh, yeah.
And then you'd have dinner, and then you'd sit there after dinner, and that was the time when people could discuss and like ask a question or something. Like he would try and give you an answer, like point you in the right direction. And that was that for 5 days.
Nice.
So really, I think I guess this gets into like the more like personal of like how it went for me. But like I said, this could be like a whole nother YouTube discussion of why I was there in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like searching for that something else, searching for that peace or enlightenment, whatever, what have you, whatever you're looking for in a faith or religion. And the whole time it was like I was trying to get that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was trying so fucking hard. Like I remember sitting there, like, because I had my meditation cushion and everything, and I'd be sitting there for fucking hours. My back would hurt, my legs are asleep, like my neck fucking hurt, and all I could think about was like the pain of sitting there and like what the fuck is going on. Like I don't like feel any different, nothing's changing, like this is just uncomfortable, this fucking sucks. And then I'd go walk around and like be wondering like what the fuck, like what am I supposed to do, what am I not doing that's like not, because like basically like in my mind I had all the pieces to the puzzle and it was in front of me, but like I wasn't able to put it together, and I couldn't figure out what exactly I wasn't doing correctly. And I'm trying to remember what day it was. I think it was like the second to last day, maybe. I just decided, I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna fucking sit here, because you had the option to sit in like the auditorium if you wanted to. You didn't have to go walk around. So I'm like, I'm just gonna sit in this fucking auditorium and just see what happens, you know, whatever. So I just sat there, and I remember like all these thoughts were just going through my head of like, why did I come here? Like, I wasted my money. Like, what am I even doing here? Like, just all this kind of like self-doubt kind of thing. Because mind you, I haven't talked to anyone for I think 3 days up to this point, which doesn't sound crazy, but if you try it, you'll see that it's very strange. But I'm just sitting there, and I remember being super pissed off because people were trimming trees outside, and like all I heard was chainsaws just wang, yang, 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 yang. Trees falling and shit. And I'm just thinking, God damn it, do these motherfuckers not know that there's people here for a meditation retreat? Like, God damn it, like, what a fucking day to pick to clean up the grounds. Like, everything is so fucking noisy. And I remember just thinking, sitting there, and be like, just be with it. Just sit here and be with it. And I remember just sitting there and kind of like relaxing into it, and I just kind of like breathed into it. And all of a sudden, I remember hearing a bird chirping, and then I heard the chainsaws, and I heard branches cracking, and I heard like all this noise, but it wasn't noise anymore. It was like, the only way I can describe it is that it was like supposed to happen and be there.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like the most beautiful sound I'd ever heard, but I wasn't thinking of it as sound. I think the best way I can say it is like, I didn't identify what was going on as what it is. Because like in Buddhism, there's something called like the Dharma and form.
Mm-hmm.
So like when I heard a bird, I wasn't thinking like, oh, that's a bird chirping, or oh, that's a chainsaw, or that's a branch falling. I just sat there and observed that this was happening, and that was it. The thought stopped. There wasn't anything else beyond that. And for whatever reason, once that happened and I stayed in that moment, like just an overwhelming sense of like oneness and peace just like overcame me. And it was no longer this feeling of trying to maintain this sense of peace. It was just happening. And I didn't have to strive to do it. Like before, it was like I was striving for it. When I got there, it's like, I want to have this. I want to get this sense of peace. And all of a sudden now, it just happened. And once I like pretty much gave up, that's what I found out. Like once I gave up and had my fill of trying to do it, all of a sudden it happened. And I pretty much just sat there and just let it happen. And I didn't like I guess I just opened my eyes when I opened my eyes. I didn't like physically think like, okay, I'm gonna get up now. It just like kind of happened, and I just felt like so very light and free. I'm like, wow, that was fucking amazing. And I just stood up, grabbed my pillow, grabbed my like fucking pad I sit on, and I walked outside, and it was like pouring ass rain. But like my thought wasn't like, motherfucker, it's fucking raining. I just like stood out in the rain and I felt it. It's like, wow. Like, and again, like I'm not thinking this. Like now that when I think about it, these thoughts come to my head.
Like none of this was verbalized
right,
at the
like
moment.
I think like now that I'm looking back at it, I'm trying to put words to it to describe how I felt.
Yeah.
But at the time it was just like I was just in the moment. But I just remember feeling the rain and being like just this sense of like gratefulness and peace. And I was like, wow, like I can feel the rain. Like this is so cool. And like I could feel the rain. I just stood there. Then I walked around, just hung out. Like everything was, the best way to describe it, fucking like magical. Like I'd see everything as I was walking. And it was something as simple as just walking back to my room. But everything along the way was so like profound and meaningful. Where it's like, wow, like how great it is to exist and be able to experience this. It's like looking at it now, you're like, wow, you're walking your fucking room. Like it's pretty minuscule. Like there's really nothing profound about it. But in my mindset at that time, everything was extremely profound, and everything, like you read in like religious texts, like every moment is a miracle. And at that moment I felt like like in that thing I wrote, like understanding it doesn't do it justice, because saying you understand something is subjective, but just having the feeling was far more than actually saying that you understood it, because you're actually like in that moment, you're actually experiencing it. And to put words to it like kind of like cuts down the meaning.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. putting words to it, like I can't think of the smart thing to say, but there is a saying about that when you try to define something, you ruin it.
Like that's basically like the whole experience. Once it became to this point, was trying to put words to it, just like short sold it.
Yeah,
like it wasn't like even now trying to explain it, like it's like it doesn't sound full to me. It doesn't. I'm not giving you like the experience I had because I can't put it into words. But at that moment, I was like, wow, this is great. Like this is why I came here. And I think what was so great about it was like the reasons that I came there for. I realized they weren't necessarily the wrong reasons, but they weren't from the right place, I guess.
Dude, I feel like that's the whole thing. Is like everyone thinks they know what they want. It's the difference between need and want. Like we need something, but we don't know, so we want these things that we think will fulfill it, and then you find out that like what you wanted was never even
exactly
what the hell it was in the first place. Like, and people get so wrapped up in that shit, trying to chase what they think they want.
Yeah, and so that was like I think the second to last day. So then the next day, I remember after like all that like unicorns and rainbows and that feeling like wore off, I remember like thinking like, wow, I want to go back to that. I want to find that again. And then I realized that's another like trap of the mind, is chasing that. You're trying to chase that feeling when really chasing the feeling in itself is just getting caught up in all the bullshit.
Yeah.
And if you just simply try and exist and try and see things for what they are and just experience the moment for what it is, then that's what being at peace is. That's what quote unquote enlightenment is. That's like the feeling that I was going after. I was like, I realized that I was like, you know, I don't have to feel all warm and fuzzy inside all the time. I just need to be in the moment and understand the moment and just be in it the best that I can.
Yeah, that's good you said that, because lately I've been thinking how like I'll get on these productivity cycles, like I'm feeling pretty good for like a week and everything's going as planned, and then I'll like slip up, and then I'll like get unfocused, and I'll whatever negative feelings come, and then I'm always thinking like, how do I just get that consistent feeling? How do I just get that consistent feeling that lets me just keep doing, like, that lets me stay on track and do things? Mm-hmm. And lately, like today or yesterday, last night, I was kind of thinking like, maybe that's like a flawed way of thinking, like to try and chase one moment, or not one moment, but one type of feeling. Maybe that's the flaw.
I don't think it's a flaw, because when you say a flaw, it has this like negative connotation with it, at least when I think of it. I don't know how you feel about the word like flawed.
Yeah.
But for me, it's being able to recognize that you've been thrown off your groove. And when you recognize that, you don't see it as something negative. You just understand that it happens. It's like,
I think that's what it is, because
it's like as cliche as like Buddhist things sound and other things, it's like the wave builds, the wave crashes, and it builds again and it crashes, and it's like that's just the way the wave is.
I learned a thing like that too, with like the sine wave going up and down, and the bottom of the sine wave is like your standards. And like what'll happen is, like, one way of thinking of this is with money. When you get a bunch of money, like let's say you get a bonus or something, you're like, oh, I'm going to splurge a little bit, and you're feeling great. And then you hit a certain number in your account where you all of a sudden you go, shit, like I got to get my shit together again. Mm-hmm. And so what'll happen is then like the sine wave goes back up, because then you realize like, oh, I've hit that low point, I need to come back up. So the idea is to get your standards higher so that the bottom point of your sine wave is a little bit higher than before. But there's like a weird feeling in between those sine waves. where like you feel like you're in a negative rut, or you can't understand why things aren't going as planned.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like you said, like there's a certain point where all of a sudden I realize it, and I'm like, I'm just going through another thing again. And then all of a sudden I like come back to my center.
Mm-hmm.
But then I'm like, why did it take me so long to get back to the center? Like, is there some reminder I could... That's why I have a bunch of shit on my wall, right? Because I have shit on the wall that makes me like try to remember to get back to that center. But this dude online, Sam Evans, was talking about, he was like, yeah, I used to write a bunch of stuff down, but I don't do it anymore. Because like now I just wait for the universe to scream at me. Mm-hmm. Like if there's something really important, then the universe is gonna fucking scream it at me, and that's when I know to follow that thing. So I've been thinking about that a lot lately.
Well, I think going off that is basically in all like Buddhist philosophy is maintaining mindfulness, and the goal is to maintain mindfulness all the time, so that when you do fall into that rut of negativity, you're able to catch it right away. And it's not you're catching it and being like, God damn it, I can't believe I fell in that rut again. Mm-hmm. Like, son of a bitch, like, how did this happen, blah, blah, blah. It's being like, oh, I'm in that rut again. Hi, rut. I'm not staying here anymore. Thanks for being able to be here so I can acknowledge you. Mm-hmm. I'm going back to my center. Or as the Buddhists say, the middle ground. There's when you're in the middle ground, you're not living in like the spiritual upper echelon of like a pseudo heaven, and you're not living in hell. You're living in the middle ground. You can see hell and you can see heaven, and you're not living in either. You're seeing in the middle, and you can see the ends of both of them, and you're choosing to remain in the middle. And I don't know if you've heard of like the silent observer. Mm-mm. So that's what like the whole meditation retreat was about. You're being the silent observer. So you're sitting there in silence, observing. When you observe, you're not looking at things subjectively. Ideally, you should be looking at objectively. You just see things for what they are. And not being able to communicate, I think, like, kind of pushes you into that direction. Yeah. Because what you're left with is you're just dealing with it in your head. And I don't know if you've tried, but you can run around in circles in your head all fucking day. Yep. And if you observe it long enough, if you observe those thoughts in your head long enough, eventually, not saying how long, but eventually, you realize it's just all made up. Yeah, it's all a bunch of shit. It's all in your head. Like, you literally, that thought, that pattern, whatever, like, you made it all up in your head. And if you were just to see things objectively, you know, it is like the saying, it is what it is. Mm-hmm. Super cliche, it's stupid, but it's the truth. Yeah. You know? I think that's where I struggle sometimes, and I've recognized it enough to know it's a thing, and I don't get too worked up about it. But it is something I've noticed is that like that I do love to like take notes or think of things in the future, or like, you know, it's like always when you're trying to go to bed, you think of a bunch of shit you need to write down, and then you know, sometimes I'll keep myself up late with this shit, going back to my phone to write something down, and then there's other times where I'm more in control and I'm just like, if this thing's important, it's gonna come up again tomorrow, and if it doesn't, then who cares? Like, and then it's just like letting it all just kind of like pass and just be there and just exist. Because I think what happens, I get like this scarcity where I'm like, oh, that was a brilliant thought, I gotta go write that down. Mm-hmm. But then it's like, if I'm getting so many goddamn brilliant thoughts, for one, maybe they're not all that brilliant. That's not what I'm thinking at the time though, but I'm also thinking, well, I'll have brilliant thoughts again. I don't need to worry about it. But I get so wrapped up in the moment thinking like, oh, I gotta go capture this. And I think it causes me more stress than it does actually relieve me of things sometimes. Well, like me and you have talked about before, like you've stressed the idea of keeping and maintaining a journal. Mm-hmm. And I've told you, like, I agree. I would like to keep and maintain a journal, but like I just find it hard sometimes, and I understand the importance of doing it, and then other times I fall back on the like what you're saying is like, oh, I mean, if I'm having this thought, it's going to come up again, and you know, whatever, I'll think of it again.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's just the human condition. Like the human condition gets to this point to where the mind just is running laps of things over and over again, and sometimes you become conscious and aware of these things and you want to further like the thought and explore it deeper, and then other times you don't. At least for me, I don't know, I'm getting off on like a tangent, but
I know what you're saying though.
yeah.
I think I'm most chill actually when I don't journal every day, but not on purpose. Like it'll just happen where like I just wake up some days and I don't do it, and then there's other days where I wake up and I do it, and then it seems like it's like most natural because I don't think about it. It's just like something will come up in the morning and I'll be like, that's a good thing to write about. And then there's other days where I don't have something and I don't stress about it and think like, oh, I have to go do something. I have to go write something about it. It's just like, so it feels like only the most necessary things are like coming up.
I think like the point I'm in my life is like I try and do things that feel the most natural and that aren't so forced.
Yeah.
When I force myself, I find myself trying too much, and when I try too much, I'm not getting what I feel. I mean, I don't know, but I feel like it's not the best that I can put out.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think it's also good to continue to push yourself, because
I think the idea there, I've heard a lot.
Yeah, like I mean, it's just
Let me throw in a fucking
life is
soda box.
life is life. You just gotta do what feels right.
Yeah.
But to wrap it all up, I guess that meditation retreat was really cool, and I went on it after that fucking near-death experience at Mount Whitney.
Oh yeah.
Because that was like the catalyst to my religious quest. That was like pretty much the start of it.
Mm-hmm.
After that experience, I just decided I wanted to, I don't know, fucking go inside, find out what there is past the flesh.